The assessment of how much to invest in flood defence depends significantly on your assessment of the risks posed by man-made climate change. Now, he said in opposition about climate change this: it's easy to do the softer things, like ride your bike, visit glaciers, and rebuild your house to make it green. That was him that said it. But it's only clear you mean it when you do the tough things as well, like telling the truth about climate change. So, Mr. Speaker, what is the truth about climate change?
The truth about climate change is this government has a programme to reduce carbon right across our economy. And we started with the government itself. Compared with the government he left in 2010 when he was Climate Change Secretary, the government's own carbon emissions are down 14%. But the point, let me just return to this issue of flood defence spending, because I think the people of this country will want to know this. He is committed to a zero-based spending review. That it means, yes we are, says the Shadow Chancellor, in an unusually helpful intervention. That means a zero-based spending review means they cannot pledge to match the flood spending we're making in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, or all the way to 2020. They have absolutely no guarantee to the people of this country they will take either climate change seriously or flood defences seriously.
Mr. Speaker, what total nonsense, and he knows it. Now, it's very interesting. It's very interesting because someone who in opposition wanted to talk as much as he could about climate change now is desperate to get off the subject. I asked him a question. Will he just set out for his party and for the country his views about man-made climate change?
I believe man-made climate change is one of the most serious threats that this country and this world faces. And that is why we have the world's first green investment bank here in Britain. That is why, unlike 13 wasted years of Labour, we're building the first nuclear power station for 30 years in our country. That is why we've cut carbon emissions emitted by the government by 14% since we came to office. That is why we've set out year after year carbon budgets in this country. They talk a good game about it, but it actually takes people to come in, govern effectively and deal with it.
Excellent. We're getting somewhere. Well, I agree with what he said about the importance of climate change. But the reason this matters is because there are people in the most important positions in his government going around questioning climate change. This is what the Environment Secretary says, and I quote, "People get very emotional about this. People should just accept the climate's been changing for centuries." And he refuses to be briefed on climate change. And the Energy Minister, when asked about climate change, said this: "You're not going to draw me on that. I haven't had time to get into the climate change debate." He's the Energy Minister, Mr. Speaker. So will the Prime Minister now clarify, is he happy to have climate change deniers in his government?
This obviously, Mr. Speaker, is the new approach to Prime Minister's questions. You come to the House of Commons and praise the Prime Minister for his commitment to climate change and the environment. I like the new style. I thought I might miss Punch and Judy. I think this is much more refreshing. This government has a solid track record of cutting carbon, of negotiating internationally, of investing in nuclear, the biggest renewable energy programme that we've seen in our country's history. For the first time in a long time, we're on track to meet our renewable targets. Perhaps he'd like to get up again and congratulate me for this excellent record on the environment.
The whole country will have heard he cannot answer the question about whether you need to believe in man-made climate change to be part of his government. He's gone from thinking it was a basic part of his credo to it being a matter of individual conscience. It used to be the thing he claimed was his passion above all else. And here's the thing, if we're to properly protect the British...
Order! The questions and the answers will be heard however long it takes, so those who are exercising their vocal cords in a rather excessive way really ought to calm down. There's quite a long way to go. Ed Miliband.
And here's the thing, Mr. Speaker, if we're going to properly protect the British people against the threats they face, we cannot have doubt and confusion in his government on the issue of climate change. Doesn't he need to rediscover the courage of his past convictions and tell his party to get real on climate change?
You can measure the courage of the convictions by the acts in government, the Green Investment Bank, the cuts in carbon, the investment in renewables, the investment in nuclear. He talks a good game, but he actually didn't achieve anything when he was in office. And Mr. Speaker, the most serious form of denial we have today in British politics is the reality deniers of the party opposite. What is their plan for the deficit? Nothing. What is their plan for welfare reform? Nothing. What is their plan for long-term investment? Because that is what climate change requires. Long-term investment like high-speed rail, long-term investment like nuclear power, long-term investment like fixing our economy. That is what this government is doing. All he does is get up and deliver a lot of hot air.